Okay, this is a video about my stretching routine that I've been doing for about 20 years. And I'm doing it primarily for my back, but my theory is that if the legs, all parts of the legs, are stretched out, that's going to help the back more than anything. So a couple of themes for the video is, and my stretching exercise is, be patient, go slow. You can't rush through this. I usually take about 30 minutes to go through my routine every morning. So the other theme is that when I'm stretching any part of my body, I don't just stretch in a straight line. I try to stretch on all sides of it. So if I'm stretching my hand, for example, instead of just stretching straight up, I will start on one side and stretch that, and I bounce a little bit, and then I move about 5 degrees and stretch that, and then another 5 or 10 degrees and stretch that, and then more. So I do that rotation through all of my stretches. I start out with my Achilles and calf muscles. If you have drywall, I suggest that you do it on the edges where the supports are so you don't end up with dents in the wall like this. So 1 foot against the wall and knee, and I have the one leg stretched out, and I stretch with little pulses to stretch the calf muscles, and I go from side to side. So the weight is on the ball of my foot for a few, and then straight back for a few, and then to the left outside part of the foot and a few. I do that for maybe 15-20 seconds. Then I sink down. On that previous one, the heel is always on the floor, but now I lift the heel, and the stretching is in the Achilles. And I rotate from the ball of the foot to the little toe, do the same thing. And I switch feet, do it on this side too, gentle bouncing, rotation back and forth, then sink down, lift the heel off, and stretch that Achilles out. I do about 20 or 30 seconds on each leg, and then I repeat it, so I'm doing it twice on each side. So let's go out to the other room. Then I come out and I squat down, and I hold this pose. This should stretch out the lower back, and I try to sink back a little bit, but I maintain this. It depends on how stiff my back is. Stretch it out, and when it feels pretty limber, then I lay down on the floor. I have a rolled up towel for my pillow. I'll rest this way for 10 seconds or so, and then I lay both legs over, 1 foot on top of the other, and I just let the weight of my legs stretch out my back right in here, right on this side. I'll watch TV, have the news on or something, and I'll just lay like this for maybe 30 seconds or more. Depends again on how tight my muscles are. And when the weight kind of stretches things out and I feel comfortable. Then I take my right foot off and lay it on the floor and do the same thing. And this is noticeably different in this muscle right along the side here when I take that one foot off of the other and stretch. On this one I don't bounce. I just let the weight of my legs stretch things out. When I'm done with that, I go back to the central neutral position, and then I go to the other foot, both feet together to start out with, and let the weight of my legs stretch things out. So if you're watching this on your phone, you might want to pause at the end of each explanation and do it for a while instead of rushing through it like I'm sort of doing this way. Then I separate my feet, do that again. Feel that stretching out along the edge here. When I'm done with that, I go back to the neutral position. I'll lay my right leg down and I grab my left leg by the knee and I pull back gently, put some pressure on it, and just hold it. And then I start doing that rotational thing. I move maybe 5 degrees and pull. I might do a little bit of bouncing on that. Go to the other side, rotate a little and pull. A lot of times I just pull and hold. I go down, try to stretch that out. Go down about as far as I can so that I'm stretching the groin muscle out a little bit, plus the buttocks. And I go about as far over this way as I can as well, and stretch, bounce a little bit, and then hold. When I'm done with that leg, I go to this leg, do the same thing. Pull and hold it. Start rotating, pull and hold. Rotate, pull and hold. Maybe a little bouncing. Stretch the ankle out, maybe a little, although I do more of that later. Pull and hold. Pull and hold. I take my time on this part of the exercise. This one and the next one I take quite a bit of time doing it, and it seems to help the most. When I'm done with that one, now I straighten my leg. I don't have it totally straight, but slightly bent at the knee, and I pull and hold on that. But I pull and hold and try to relax, and then I push the leg against my hands. I'm holding them locked and I push against, and when I do that, now I start trying to stretch out my ankles. As you see, I rotate. And I rotate a little bit, a few degrees to the left, a few more. I pull and hold, and then I push against it, against my hands. Pull and hold, relax, try to relax those muscles, and then push against it. Rotate the ankles. Same with the other foot. Pull, maybe bounce a little bit, and we try to relax so I stretch that muscle out. Then I push against my hands. Rotate a little bit, 5 to 10 degrees. Relax as I pull and bounce a little, and then push against, and you can feel the difference when you're pushing. So now I'm back to neutral when I'm done with that, and I take quite a bit of time, like I said, to do those last two. Now there might be a little disagreement with this one, but I put my hands under my head and I gently pull up, try to stretch out my spine, especially in my neck area. And then I'll push a little bit on each side. Sometimes if my neck is especially stiff, while I'm pulling, trying to separate my head from my shoulders a little bit, I'll rotate while I'm always keeping upward pressure pulling on my neck. And rotate it around, try to get those muscles loose. Then I start doing some crunches while I'm in this position. And I'll do 15 crunches straight, like this. Then I rotate my head a little bit, and I do 15 crunches that way, 15 crunches this way, and then I try to stretch out my wrists by pushing my fingers back while I go on this side, and I'll do 15 crunches like that. Try to stretch each finger and the thumbs, and then do this side. 15 crunches, pushing on my fingers and trying to stretch out my wrists. When I'm done with that, then if you focus on my calf muscles again, I push my toes into the floor and try to tighten my calf muscles, especially right down here, as much as I can, try to cause a cramp. As soon as you feel a cramp starting, then you want to stretch. Bring your toes up as much as you can and try to work that cramp out. But I do that and keep doing it until I can do it in a pretty relaxed fashion and it doesn't feel like my calf muscles are going to cramp. I do both feet together when I do that. Then I do the same thing. I straighten my leg out and I curl my toes downward as hard as I can. And what that does is it starts to cramp up the arch of the foot. And if I'm not hydrating enough, my legs are going to cramp up quicker. If I am being hydrated good, then I'm not going to have any problems at all with cramping. When I'm done with that on the left foot, I only do this second part 1 foot at a time. When I'm done with that, I grab my foot and I pull it as hard as I can back towards my body like this. Try to pull the toes so I'm stretching out the Achilles and all up into the calf. Then, while I'm still holding my big toe, I start with my fingers pushing into the bottom of my foot, doing a little shiatsu type of massage. And I start on this side and I move over just a couple millimeters each time and try to put some pressure and slow massage across the bottom of my feet. In shiatsu, I believe that the outside of the foot is supposed to correspond to the lower back. When I do that with my feet, then I start wiggling my toes, try to crack them a little bit. Then I wiggle each toe, spin them back and forth a little bit, and then try to push my foot down push the toes down, push the feet out. I do the same with this right foot now. Stretch it out, curl it down, try to get that arch to at least begin to cramp a little bit or get tight, and bring it up and pull on the toes, and then do the massage on the bottom of the feet with the tips of the fingers pushing into the muscles and tendons on the bottom of the feet. And crack the toes or massage them and spin them a little bit. Push the toes down. Once I'm done with that, now I bring my foot over on the other side of my knee. I get my knee down flat on the floor, and then this arm I stretch out as far as I can, and then I just let the weight of it stretch out these back muscles. And I'll sit here for a while. If you have a piece of furniture, sometimes I'll stretch a little more, do a little bouncing there, especially around the hip muscles here, to stretch that out. Take your time with that one. Take your time with all of them. I do this one. If you have a piece of furniture that you can get your fingers under to stretch that, that's okay too. Take your time and stretch that out. When I'm done with that, then I roll over onto my stomach. I get my elbows up a little ways and try to relax my legs, have them laying on the floor, and I try to pull my body forward with my elbows. But my lower body, from my lower back on down, is completely relaxed. So I try to pull my body forward, and then I'll just relax and let those muscles, you have to breathe into the relaxation. Sometimes I will rotate my hips a little bit, gently, back and forth. And then I rise up on my elbows, and that stretches out the lower back a little. And then sometimes I will rock from one side to the other, and that changes the stretching from the middle of the back to the lats on the side. Maybe those aren't the lats. Maybe these are the lats up here. I don't know. Back and forth, and then pull again with the elbows, relaxing all the time, and rotating the hips, just gently rocking the hips back and forth. If that's nice and stretched out, you can, when you rise up like this, if you bring your toes down, instead of your feet flat, if your toes are down, that will stretch the lower back just a little bit more. But I continue to do that back and forth on each side. When I'm done with that, I do a plank, and I do that for a slow 30 count, slow 30 seconds. If my back is especially stiff, I might do a little raising, kind of rounding the back a little bit while I'm doing the plank, but at least 30 to 40 seconds on the plank. While I'm doing the plank, after I've done about 30 or 40 seconds, I raise one foot, I start stretching it and rotating my foot while I hold that for about another 20 seconds or so. Then I switch to the other foot, do that, hold that for about another 20 seconds, stretching the foot while I'm doing it, and then back to the normal plank. When I'm done with that, I do the sideways plank with my hand up in the air, trying to stretch in here around my shoulder, and I do that for about 40 seconds. And then on this side, do another plank, stretch my fingers, stretch my shoulder while I'm holding that plank for about 40 seconds. Then I come up and I do the cat and the cow poses. So the cow is when your back is arched down and your head is up. And the cat, these are yoga exercises, is trying to bring your lower back and rounding your back as much as you can with your head down. Stretching up, trying to bring the stomach and the back up as high as possible. So I alternate between that, cow, cat, cow, cat. Hold those positions, depends on how loose your back is. While I'm doing the cat, up as high as I can, then I start to sink backwards, just gently rocking. And then go into the cow again. When I'm all done with that, then I'll do some push-ups. I usually do 15 to 20 push-ups. When I'm done with that, I'm done with being on the floor. So then I go over either on the bed or a chair, put my foot on the edge, and sink forward. Here I do this side to side rocking again, trying to stretch out that Achilles and the calf more. And then I come back up, put the heel there, keep the knee slightly bent, and sink down, stretch out those muscles in the butt. And I go from this side, center, left, a few degrees each time. Stretch it out like that. And I do the same on this side. Taking my time, sink down lower and lower. Try to get the groin a little bit on this side. On this side it gets the outside here of the butt. And when I'm done with that, I grab my foot, pull it back, stretching out the muscles up here. And this is another one where I try to relax and stretch it out and then push while I'm holding it against it, and then relax it, push against it, relax it. And do that to both. Stretch it, push against, stretch, push against. Then the very last thing, I suppose I could do it out in the living room or something, but after I eat breakfast and I'm brushing my teeth, when I'm using the toothbrush, I have an electric toothbrush. I probably couldn't do this with a manual toothbrush. I'm leaning over the sink, I get down and I try to push my butt out and arch my back downwards as much as I can. Press it, push the butt out, and the lower back is arched this way. When I'm down by the sink, my knees are bent, and while I'm in this position, I straighten my knees, and I can feel this stretching out all up and down in there. And I might sink side to side and get my groin tendons like that, stretching that out. So that's my stretching routine, and it generally takes me 30 minutes if I'm fairly loose to begin with. Can take 40 up to 50 minutes if I've done a lot of outside work and I'm sore. So I take my time and go through it, or I've done a lot of snow shoveling or that type of work. So God bless you and good luck.